Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to start us. Um, and we have four great organizations that are represented here. So, a part of historic preservation is cultural preservation. And we can think about the role that arts and culture organizations play in making sure that um, our cultural heritage, our cultural practices, contemporary art are all a part of ways that our residents, visitors interact with the neighborhood. So we have Reclaiming Place and the Narrative, Chinatown Arts and Culture Awakening. So these Chinatown organizations that are rooted in Chinatown, but you can also think about the roles that these kind of strategies can be played in other neighborhoods as well. So we have four great speakers. Joanne Lee, the executive director of Edge on the Square, and it's a part of the Chinatown Media Arts and Collaborative, and that's based in San Francisco, Chinatown. We're also, yay. We're also joined by Jenny Leung. She's the executive director of the Chinese Cultural Center of San Francisco, also based in San Francisco, Chinatown. Yin Kong, she's the co-director and co-founder of Think Chinatown, which is in New York City, Chinatown. And then Mary Yi, she is on the board of Asian Arts Initiative and also part of the Save the Chinatown Coalition, and that's in Philadelphia, Chinatown. So we're looking forward to what they're sharing and give it up for all these speakers.
Great. Thank you, Erica. How's everyone doing this afternoon? All right. All right. So a big thanks to APIAHiP for including an arts and culture piece in this conference. So, we've heard a lot about the direct threats, like of displacement and gentrification over these last couple yesterday and today. These threats from major development projects, from stadiums to jails, and also to existential threats, right? The loss of housing, the loss of residents, the loss of small businesses. And so this discussion is about how arts and culture programs and strategies can celebrate, empower, and preserve our historic neighborhoods, which is often referred to as creative placemaking and creative placekeeping strategies. We really recognize that the work that the arts and culture organizations and artists often can preserve a community's history, the art and culture, to tell our stories, to keep our histories and our communities from being erased, and really to keep our places. So Erica already told you who's all presenting. I'm really excited to be here with you today from San Francisco with Jenny. And you'll also be, we're going to take you basically through a tour, right, of San Francisco, New York, and Philadelphia, and share how our organizations have responded to threats of displacement and gentrification, and develop programs for economic revitalization and cultural preservation. I'm going to start off with, we're going to start off in San Francisco, and I'm looking for the clicker. Cool. Okay, so just a little bit about San Francisco's Chinatown, and I know many of you have been there. We are the oldest Chinatown in North America, and since the early 1880s, we've served as a gateway for immigrants. And we continue to be that today, right? Still a place for low-cost housing, for new immigrants to find services, for jobs, job training, and cultural activities. And we are one of the densest neighborhoods in the region, with over 30,000 low-income residents within a quarter square mile area. And over 600 families live in about 120 square foot SROs, which is about half of Chinatown's housing stock. And it is one of the lowest income neighborhoods in San Francisco with a median income of just about $31,000. So, so some of the issues that we're facing is that you know, since the pandemic, we've had over 60 anti-Asian hate incidents in Chinatown and in San Francisco. And so we've also have a very limited open space and cultural spaces. I'm going to go back up. Okay, so and now I'm going to see if we can show the Google Arts and Culture. So recently there was this piece that we did and is on the Google Arts and Culture page about reinvigorating San Francisco's Chinatown. So if you can just scroll through it for people to read. And it was done with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. This is Edge on the Square, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And so you can keep going. So this is Portsmouth Square and our founding organizations. And this first recording is, thank you for all the tech help. I think I have one. Oh, okay. So Jenny's going to talk a bit about CCC now.
I'm just going to welcome everyone. My name is Jenny Leung. Again, I'm with the Executive Director of the Chinese Culture Center. We were founded in 1965, and our founders were inspired by the Civil Rights Movement to create a space and a place for Chinese Americans and to rectify racist past. And we are one of the oldest, long-standing Asian American arts organizations in the country. We're going to be celebrating 60 years in 2025, so it's quite an achievement for a small community-based arts organization. And we're really having an awakening in our community, and that's why we're really wanting to share arts and cultural strategies. Our space that we currently have was actually the result of a fight against a hotel development to set aside 20,000 square feet of cultural space as this hotel was coming into the community. And our founding was really part of a broader movement, the founding of the Historical Society in 1963, CCC in 1965, and also Chinese for Affirmative Action, which was founded in 1969 as a way to fight against the hotel development that wasn't including Chinese workers at the time. And today we're still keeping that fight and keeping this space as we fight against a hotel developer that 9 months ago has tried to evict us from our historic headquarters. So this is some of the historic spaces. I'm going to talk a little bit about our programs, which has evolved since we were founded in the 60s. We center artists and believe arts are transformative to be able to shift the dominant narrative and empower. We do this by empowering underserved artists and underserved communities to uplift the voice of the community. And we frequently know that underserved artists have a glass ceiling and they need a lot of support. And we need our storytellers to be empowered, supported, in order to invest back into the community. And arts are a deep part of a just and equitable society, and we really believe that they're preserving the vibrancy of the neighborhood. 15 years ago, we started doing contemporary art to have more relevancy and to change the perspective and stereotypes of Chinatown and to give agency to community members and artists. And contemporary art is really about engagement, interaction, and letting the community finish the work. It's not just art on the walls, and it's not about having the work be static. So this particular exhibition that we currently have in our space is a group exhibition. It's called Present Tense, and it's about public protest, against public space, and we brought together projects from all across the Asian diaspora to talk about this. And one of the particular, so this is a project from Hong Kong about resistance. And in particular, we wanted the community to dialogue about the change and the development that's happening right outside our neighborhood and outside in the public park. Next year, we're going to be having a very major development in Portsmouth Square, which is the living room of Chinatown. And the pedestrian bridge that the community has originally fought for will be taken down in order to build and renovate the park. And one of the Bay Area local artists, Weston Turia, is recreating this park as a way to kind of dialogue about it as well. This is the Hungry Ghost Festival. We started this about 2 years ago after the pandemic as a way to bring together cultural heritage and contemporary art, but also to bring together a festival that is about healing and release and cathartic space. If some of you don't know, the Hungry Ghost Festival is celebrated across the Asian diaspora. It's on the 7th month and the 15th day of the lunar calendar. And this is really the only festival that's celebrated in the United States in such a big way. But the theme this year, Down for Uproar, references the hurt and the racism that has happened. This festival was actually very prominent in the 1880s and 1920s during the time of Chinese exclusion, family separation, and these rituals were very popular around celebrating ancestors and giving these hungry ghosts that come when the spirit world is blurred in order to have this space where you can appease them. And it's a space for us to also be in solidarity with other communities of color. We've invited a lot of different performers to come from all across the city and to honor our ancestors and to be in solidarity with Chinatown and the community. Some of the other projects that we've done with the Latinx and Chinatown community bring together women to create artwork, create flags of empowerment, do an exhibition, and also celebrate in the Lunar New Year parade and participate together. So this is a project that we've done over the course of 18 months called How I Keep Looking Up. And we also do public art advocacy. This is the first single resident occupants immigrant to win a public art bid. And it finally installed in 2023 after a decade in the making. I do want to give a highlight and shout out that we're currently accepting for a Chinatown Artist Registry. There are going to be 3 major public projects in Chinatown that will be happening for Portsmouth Square, the Public Health Clinic, and the Himmark Library. And so until October 7th, we really want to invite artists who have a connection to Chinatown to submit artwork. There's actually very few Asian American artists in the community and in our public spaces. So this is just like a really great opportunity to have representation, but also uplift our community stories. I'm going to go through 41 Ross. This is a experimental studio space that we opened in the alleyway. It was in partnership with Chinatown Community Development Center, but we're celebrating our 10 years this year of opening the space as a community space, as an art space. And for the last 2 years, we've been doing artists in residence that have been uplifting different stories. We're going to be opening up a HOTAM upcoming in on September 20th, and it's going to be highlighting the bookstores. It's going to do a pop-up bookstore gallery and highlighting the disappearing bookstores in the community, but also the strong print anchor and small businesses that we currently have in San Francisco. So you can see a lot of our programs engage community, they engage artists, and they engage small businesses and visitors as well. And I'm going to share a little bit about some lessons learned that we've been doing for the last 15 years of doing this contemporary art. We want to be able to share that you have to have a strong vision and direction. When we started doing contemporary art, a lot of people thought it was weird, and I think they weren't very supportive of it. But being persistent, being able to change the culture, being able to have contemporary, young, emerging artists to create a new visual language for the community to represent, be persistent, but also engage the community, engage and get feedback, and still have that strong vision and direction. We incorporate a lot of different things over the years to include feedback from our neighbors. Whenever we do artists in residence at 41 Ross, we do a orientation with them, artists in the neighborhood, make sure they meet the neighbors get to kind of dialogue and also get ideas. It's very cute. For 41 Ross, our neighbor across the street, Mr. Huang, they opened up a boba shop, and they are having not a competition, but they decided they're so inspired by the art that's in the storefront. They started creating their own murals and being inspired to create their own artwork. And I think this segues back to Edge. And I just want to share the power of collaboration. We've been having this momentum and movement, and it's been so exciting to be part of this collaboration, because I think we haven't been successful until we have this momentum and movement. This is one of the collaborations that we've done with Edge on the Square. This is why Joanne and I are presenting together. We did an art block party earlier this year. And we're finding ways to collaborate and be more powerful together as a way to be better than the sum of our parts. And Chinatown Meeting Arts Collaborative is really about bringing together arts and also civil rights, housing, community development together. So some of our founders of CMAC are actually here today as well: Angel Island, Chinatown CDC, Chinese for Affirmative Action, Chinese Historical Society, CCC, and Center for Asian American Media.
Great, thank you, Jenny. So Edge on the Square is kind of the new kid, literally, on the block. So that's why I let Jenny go first. So you heard a little bit about it. I'm gonna just spin through a few more slides to let you know about our programs and how we've been working. We are right at 800 right in the heart of Chinatown on Grand Avenue. And for those of you who were at the presentation before this one, you heard from Chinatown CDC, the two main commercial corridors, Grand Avenue being the one that's a little bit more touristy. And so that's our building. Our building goes down to Portsmouth Square, which is the living room of Chinatown, where a lot of the residents gather. And so hence our name, Edge on the Square, in case you wondered why we're named that. And those are, I'm not going to read for you the mission and our work of both shifting the dominant narrative of the immigrant experience and also being a economic catalyst for Chinatown. These are some of the programs that we do. They're free and open to the public. They're music, performances, workshops. This was a lei making workshop that we did actually on a night of a night market. So there's a monthly night market in Chinatown that runs along Grand Avenue for 6 blocks. The business district puts it together. We're always open. We get 1,000 people in our little space that night. So some of the different activities, we also have a youth program that we provide the youth a weekly youth workshop for a after-school youth program that is run by another organization in the neighborhood, and we provide the weekly arts curriculum for them. And then we have free exhibitions. We run about 2 of them a year. This one was one of my favorites. It was called Chroma, and it was collecting pieces of what you would consider to be trash from the neighborhood, of different trinkets and gum wrappers and things, and put together in a very colorful kind of rainbow approach. And it was a way to show that, art doesn't have to be really expensive. It can be made by community members. So we had pieces that were up, and we also had this one for people to put up their own pieces, and that art can come from our community. This was a sound bath that we had for meditation and relaxation. And then this was our festival we just finished our 3rd annual Contemporary Arts Festival last Saturday. We bring in 10 to 15,000 people in one evening. with temporary art activations and music and performances in 5 different streets and alleyways in Chinatown. And then this is the list of our founders. So CMAC was incorporated in 2017 and purchased this building in 2022 and opened its doors to the public in 2023. So we're just, kind of finishing our first kind of, I would say, year and a half, about 18 months of programming. So we're still very young and experimental and learning a lot. And our vision, our grand vision, is to rebuild on our site. So when we purchased the building, we renovated just the commercial storefront that fronts out on Grant Avenue. But this shows how the building, the white building there in the middle, is actually a long rectangular shaped lot that you can see that's Portsmouth Square where all the trees are. So our goal, our dream is to rebuild on the site a 6-story, 33,000 square foot arts and cultural hub for the community that will have community space, meeting space, event space, exhibition space, a multimedia space, and workshops and art making spaces. So more to come. Okay. With that, we are now going to fly over to New York to our East Coast friends. And this is Yin from Chinatown.
It's only a 6-hour flight, right? Hi, everyone. I'm Yin, director of Think Chinatown, and also one of the co-founders. I just want to start by thanking APIAHiP for really bringing us together and redefining, revisioning, yeah, is that a word? Of what historical preservation means in this country. It doesn't have to be like restoring a house of a dead old white guy. I used to work at Monticello, the ultimate house of a dead white guy. So I really appreciate that. And I hope, arts, as Joanne was saying, really feel strongly that arts and culture is so much a part of that. I run Think Chinatown, and we're a place-based intergenerational organization. And I press down, okay. And so before I get into, I'm gonna talk through a bunch of art programs that we do, but I wanted to anchor us all in why we do this work, right? And joy, celebration is so important because no one's gonna come to your party, no one's gonna join your movement if it's not fun, right? And what better way to defy than joy, right? So being fun is definitely rule number 1 for all Think Chinatown programming. Oh, this is Rose Leung, our artist, one of our Lantern artist residents. This was the dark times of 2021 Lunar New Year, and she's like, I'm just gonna do something weird and fun. Are you okay with a life-size lantern? I'm like, yes, let's do it. And also belonging. For us, Chinatowns are cultural homes, right? I live in Chinatown. Most of my team lives in Chinatown. We're residents, but we also know that it is a wider diaspora from the Asian community that find Chinatown to be their cultural home. So really fostering those feelings of belonging, bring more support, widens the umbrella of support to our ecosystem. So we can really focus on resiliency in this entire ecosystem. For us, that means a lot of things. For instance, I just said we do a lot of fun things. We also do some non-fun things. Like recently, we put out the commercial district needs assessment, which talks about all of our needs that we found within the corridor. And the team really hit the streets, went door to door. And it was really important for us. This was a city commission to do this work, that we were the ones from within the community doing the research, because we feel like the complexity and the nuances in Chinatown are too great for other people to understand, outsiders to understand. So we really wanted to fill that space and represent our community in representing in a publication that would push how funding within the city is being spent and show where the gaps are. Okay, so our work intersects storytelling, arts, and neighborhood engagement. Because of this talk, I will focus on arts, but you cannot divorce our work from the other categories. There's always overlap, always intersection. And this is all focused on soft infrastructure, which is so often overlooked in thinking about community development. Walking around in Seattle, Chinatown has made me really appreciate the energy of the streets in my Chinatown. And I think this really comes from that soft infrastructure, the social infrastructure of a community. Okay, so I'll take us to our public realm programs first. Our block parties are super fun. If anyone's been to ours before, you know, all ages come. What we do is we turn this newsstand over there into a DJ booth. Our DJ in residence, she like actually lives in that building and she plays records from the Chinatown community. A lot of people within the community have donated records. So you'll hear canto, mando, pop, all sorts of fun things. And this year we can do it without sound. That's okay. We can listen to the music. That's fine. You can keep hitting play. So we had an artist in residence this year who took remnant clothing to show basically, you know, stories people have through clothette or bags or whatever that they had at home, give them a new life. All right, super fun. Come dance. It's hot. Another big public realm project we have is the Chinatown Night Market. This is a really big project for our team. I want to just also differentiate. There's a lot of street markets that have been popping up, especially in New York City. But we are very, very strong about this not being for profit. We really want to make sure our vendors are taken care of. We charge them the bare minimum. We used to actually charge them nothing, but the city actually started making us charge them because the city wanted a cut. So we're like, fine, how about $30 then? Want a cut of that? It started as a small thing and during the pandemic, and it's grown to street closure and wonderful performances, and is all possible because of the team really being able to hold Chinatown mom and pops through permitting their temporary food handling. So it's a mix of some younger Asian entrepreneurs who can handle that on their own, but the majority of them are Chinatown home cooks or small brick and mortars or carts. And all the performances are carefully curated by moi to make sure that anybody walking by, any auntie walking by, not knowing what the event is going to be drawn to it. I think especially in public spaces, when you have these big events, you have to make sure people don't feel excluded from their own public spaces. So I really, really make sure these all have strong auntie appeal. We also have a lot of artisans that we work with and give them opportunities to interact with a new audience, bigger audience, and just give them sales. It's hard in the world of, you know, handicrafts and artists and folk artists. So, you know, the sugar paint artists, super popular, paper cut, calligraphy, palm braiding. We also have our Lunar New Year artist in residency, and every year a different lantern is made and paraded through the streets of Chinatown. We are a women-led and ran org, and line dancing is awesome. It's very awesome, but it's also very male-dominated. So we wanted to bring something else to the streets that could include a wider sense of belonging, and they're always super fun. Chinatown Arts Week, we've been running for a while. You can see our collection of our poster. This is a sneak peek of this one. Actually, I saw the final one this morning. but it's coming up. It's in October. It's all sorts of public events where people can get in, start dancing, doing Tai Chi. There was like Chinese opera. There's a whole red carpet for the community. Basically ways for people to engage with traditional Chinese art forms, and also artists to understand and connect with different art forms. There's also our Moon Square open call, which allows any artist to basically submit an artwork within the form of a mooncake tin. So our storytelling work is very much the center of all of our work. Listening to our community is very important. Everyone knows that, but it's also the basis of building trust and building our networks, because when things happen at us, y'all know what that means. When things happen at Chinatowns, right, or other communities, you need to already have that network of trust built up before you can organize, right? And so when people understand that you are listening, you've heard their story, you know their pain points, where they're coming from, there's already a level of understanding before you start that work. That's a talk for another time. Today we're talking about arts. So I'm going to talk about our projects that we do with our storytelling projects. So we take the oral histories, they're like 2-3 hours long sometimes. And then we produce about 8 or 10-minute clips. In our art of storytelling series, we invite API artists to create artworks that create animated illustrations. And then in this case, she says this was actually an interpretive dance, a site-specific dance about 2 lives of women in China and Chinatown in different time periods, so that we can get really creative about how we tell the stories. So I'm just going to show you guys. It's culminated in the Chinatown Storytelling Festival, which is now in May. And you get to hear a lot of these stories. And here is Mr. Zhang's story. Can you turn up the sound? This was the story of Mr. Zhang, who is a beloved music teacher at Manchester School, also the teacher of one of our teammates. And so this storytelling project was the conversation between the two of them and understanding how an artist really moves through the culture, from the Cultural Revolution, and makes their way to America, and what their story is like. So it's a great story if you want to listen to more. But there's a lot in this practice with translation in a culturally relevant way, and also dealing with difficult topics like the Cultural Revolution and talking about it in a way that the storyteller feels comfortable displaying. So there's a lot of nuances there that we work through with our storytellers. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. Oh, I already said that. Okay, so I'll also talk about our exhibits. So we've been programming a space at One Pike. That's the address. It will be called Chinatown Studio. We're like on the brink of launching it, but we've been I'll tell you the story of how we started going this space. We used to use it as storage space for the night market. Our partner is APIAHiP, Asian Americans for Equality, owns the building, and we used to store night market crap in there. And then we're like, hey, you have really nice windows. What if we put some art in the windows? And then we put art in the windows. And after a while, we're like, hey, what about this front room over here? What if we did an exhibit in this front room? And they're like, do you just want to take the space and do something with it. And we're like, how did you know? So anyways, we officially are their tenants now. And this is the space kind of before renovation. And we do a lot of place-based art exhibitions. We really give this space as an opportunity for artists to work within the context of Chinatown with the team's support. We've also been programming a lot with Asian American Arts Center's collection. So for those of you who might not know, Bob Lee there started in the 70s and 80s, the Asian American Arts Center, and amassed this amazing collection of Asian American art during the birth of the movement. I just went to his 80th birthday. This guy needs to retire. He deserves to retire. And there was no succession plan for this really important collection. And so now I think Chinatown is helping him think through this. And so we're with APIAHiP developing the Asian American Arts Research Center in Flushing. So this is a new segment of our work. Stay tuned. Not scary at all. But the art is amazing, and the stories behind each piece that Bob has about the artists, the times, the exhibits they first showed, they're so amazing. We've been recording with him, and we're committed to doing a show a year with him for as long as we can. So it's really important cultural knowledge we need to capture. We also use the space for talks, other workshops, but also a place to do and learn rituals. I think this is something really important in the diasporic community is we're cut off from that. We maybe your parents, like mine, my mom went through the Cultural Revolution and all sorts of cultural rituals were lost there. Or, you have different feelings about or you might not have been, you might be an adoptee and you don't know these rituals, but creating space where people can develop a relationship with cultural practices is really important to increase that umbrella of belonging to Chinatown. And also just creating a place where people can feel okay with being imperfect with their Asianness, which is something that we all have to work on. All right, so this is where art intersects with our civics or our neighborhood engagement element. So this is the exhibition that's currently up in our space, Making or Faking Chinatown, Representing People, Place, and Culture. Not loaded question at all. This is in response to the Chinatown Connections project, which is happening at us right now. But from the city, it's a big redesign of Chatham Square and Kim Lau Square. And the reason why we're feel so responsible to do something about it is because the failure of this project would happen in 2016, 2017, and kind of the beginning of the reason why I think Chinatown came together was in response of the city's failure to have a process for public art that really represented us. This project, this proposal was basically shouted down by the community because they didn't feel any attachment to it. Millions of dollars were lost in funding. It was a terrible shit show. It was not good. So we do not believe the city can do it. So we are going to do it ourselves. Is basically after yelling at the city for a long time and also giving a lot of free labor to the city, trying to advise them for a long time, we'll say, what, we're going to do our own process. And then let's see if you listen to us afterwards. So in this exhibition, there's a lot of research involved. So we invited artist John Lee to show us scenes from Chinatown, really like answering those questions, what makes Chinatown Chinatown, which is also really engaging, gets people in through the door. We also explore different creative placemaking, placekeeping techniques across Chinatowns in North America and really give our audience, our visitors, our community, the words and the vocabulary within urban planning to have these conversations about our public realm. And then also really dissect the history of paifongs, which is very much related to how people think of markers in Chinatown. Understanding that the first paifong in America was in the World's Fair. Understanding that many of the early paifongs were created by white architects. understanding that a lot of the times these were built for white tourists to come and spend money in Chinatown. And what does that really mean for us in cultural representation? And so we have different little exercises to explore that. I won't have time to get into all of that. And upcoming will be our kitchen classes. We've been borrowing space to do that since. But, you know, as I said, we're a women-led and ran org. We know that for stories, traditions, rituals are passed along, stories, it's around the kitchen table. And so we want to honor these culture bearers, aunties in the neighborhood who can teach us these things and have space to continue doing this kitchen work. So this is like a rendering of our space, which actually looks very, like it actually kind of looks like this right now. It's pretty close. We're so close to opening. And also our tea practice, both medicinal and ceremony. And I just want to take a second to talk about our team and our board. For us, intergenerational work is so important. Our board has been working in Chinatown activism for decades. It's through them and their knowledge and their approval that we feel the strength and ability to go forward. I also want to say beyond the board, we have a lot of support of the OG Chinatown activists, you know, people from Basement Workshop, Godzilla, AAC, AFI. We have to build on past generations' work and of activism to continue our work, and we have to keep learning from them. So I'm just gonna use my last minute to show you one more nugget from our storytelling projects because it's Mid-Autumn Festival.
We recently had the UU Records, their DJ come play at our festivals. It's so much fun, and it's nice to have that bi-coastal exchange. Happy to bring up Mary from Philadelphia. So now we're going to just hop over to Philadelphia and hear what they're up to.
Thank you, Joanne. So, Joanne, Jenny, and Yin, thanks a lot for your amazing work. And there's a lot there that you've shared that's inspiration for us in Philadelphia. So I'm from the Asian Arts Initiative and from the Save Chinatown Coalition. As Kristen Fukushima noted yesterday, we three APIA enclaves, Little Tokyo, Seattle, and Philadelphia, have the dubious distinction of being endangered. Well, I'm going to try to give you a little more context about our continued fight against large-scale infrastructure projects and gentrification. However, my focus is really on how we are using the arts and culture to defend our community, to disrupt stereotypes and put forth counter-narratives. Our work encompasses raising consciousness, rallying our allies, and building solidarity across communities. So our current thread is the 76ers basketball arena, and you see their fanciful renderings there, and Chinatown is circled in red. And so this proposal is for an 18,500 seat arena that only has 41 home games and will only be occupied for 150 days of the year. That is less than half the year. And this will happen mainly during dinner time in Chinatown, and the construction is supposed to take 6 or more years. So you heard yesterday from John Ten and Debbie Way a little bit about our background. So we kind of in Chinatown are about 100 years old, and for 100 years we were on the edge of Skid Row until the Vine Street Expressway came, which is kind of like your I-5, and basically took down a quarter of our housing. And we've survived, and we've also thrived. But in 2022, we first heard about this arena proposal in the newspaper. To give you a little idea, here's a map of the core of Chinatown, but our planning boundaries are at least 3 times that. And you can see on the right-hand side a list of these different projects that have threatened us. Some of them we've able to parry off, and some of them we've had to suffer with. So the convention center, the lower right kind of, have to live with, as well as the lower middle, where the fashion district, that was a gallery, and about that we can't go into today. And then we also have projects that are pending. The most important one is called the Chinatown Stitch, and that is going to cover about 2 blocks of the Vine Street Expressway, which is now depressed. That I consider kind of a reparations project by the Department of Transportation for having truncated our community, increased pollution, air pollution, and basically stunted our growth. So I was going to point out where the Asian Arts Initiative is right now. In the last map, get there, in the upper left-hand corner, sorry, yeah, sure. Okay. Let's see. What I was going to do is point out the upper left. You see the gray block, and that is along with the Fax Charter School, the Chinese Christian Church and Center, Asian Arts Initiative is now located. So we would not be there had the Phillies baseball stadium happened. So we are a multidisciplinary arts center, and we've been around for over 30 years. And basically, that was this. Okay. So mainly, our core activities have to do with gallery exhibitions, performances, artist residencies, especially with emerging artists, youth programming, and offering community space. And so today I'm going to focus on how we're using arts and culture in our struggle to defend, protect, and to preserve our community against the 76ers arena proposal. So I've conceptualized this as using the arts and culture in the service of organizing and building community, and using arts and culture to fortify and embellish public actions. So here you see, we are, you could say, building our brand. So why do I say that? That's because we have used these graphics and this font over 25 years. On the right-hand side, you see the t-shirt that I'm wearing. Some other people have this also. And if you look, you can see that underneath the arena word, there is the casino, which is crossed out. And under that is the stadium, which has been crossed out. So we have reused this t-shirt design over 25 years for 3 different struggles, okay? Now, the Save Chinatown Coalition has been instrumental in leading the struggle against 76ers arena proposal. In terms of arts and culture, they have an ancillary formation called NACS, which is No Arena in Chinatown Solidarity. And this is really an amazing organization because it has these different hives. And the hives are affinity groups of volunteers who work on different projects and tasks. And so, for instance, the Research Hive, which is connected to the Technical and Planning Committee, would come up with bullet points, say, for publication, for a one-pager or for press release. But that would go, say, to the social media people and the arts and culture for formatting for graphics and also for dissemination over social media. And then it would go to allies and other people, for outreach, and then in hard copy too, say, for education and dissemination everywhere. So some of the things we've done in terms of rallying our allies around arts and culture is to have them participate with us in celebrations and mass actions. So the upper left, we had our Jewish allies come to Chinatown on Christmas Day and do Christmas caroling that is parodies of Christmas caroling. We also, on upper right, have a collaboration with Spiral Q, which is this community arts organization that does these really fantastic, huge paper mache political puppets. And they made our hats, our ramen hats, and our bulldozer hats. So they also helped us with banner making. In terms of music from other communities, we've had African American Drumline came out with Philly Elmo, and also the Son Revoltura, a son band. Now, this time in our mass demonstration just this past Saturday, we were honored to have the Apache spiritual runners come and open with a prayer. So AAI, that's Asian Americans United, AAU, Asian Americans United, and PCDC have worked together to do some film screenings in the community. So these are film screenings about Philadelphia Chinatown as well as other Chinatowns. So you see Big Fight in Little Chinatown, which featured like Vancouver, New York, and Montreal. We also did panel discussions at AAI. And one of the really neat initiatives that's happened between AAI and AAU is this collection of about a dozen posters with the photos and voices of people in Chinatown. These are regular people. They are parents, they are students, they're restaurant owners, they're community activists. And so these are posted all over Chinatown. We also, in February, had a 10-day festival, you could say, that featured all kinds of activities in Chinatown. And so this is called Show Your Love in Chinatown, or for Chinatown. And on the right, you can see kind of I guess you could say a recontextualization of a restaurant placemat that you might have encountered that had zodiac signs, but we kind of redid this a little bit. Okay, so Show Your Love for Chinatown also featured, say, reservations in restaurants where you would have a discussion with people from the community, activists, business owners, artists, and so on. We also had walking tours, film screenings, and even hands-on activities where you could learn how to roll spring rolls. So this was fun. This was fundraising, and it was, a way to also raise consciousness. So we also had a call for poetry, which was a collaboration with the Free Library of Philadelphia that resulted in an anthology. And our queer Asian American community also came out to do a drag show in support. So we're really proud of the young people in the community that are continuing our legacy of intergenerational activism. And as Debbie mentioned, the Students for the Preservation of Chinatown evolved into developing the Ginger Arts Center, which is a drop-in center for youth, and which basically is there to nurture this next generation and to spur their creativity and joy for Chinatown. So now these are public actions that we do that are more political. Okay. And here you can see we're having some fun here. We're delivering 15,000 postcards to our city council members. You can see the postcard and people dressed up and went to city council. Now, in June last year, we had our first major mass action, which pulled out 3,000 people that marched from Chinatown to City Hall. And again, you see our graphics and you see basically waves of people wearing our T-shirt, which is kind of reminds me of like yellow umbrellas, right? Okay. And then another design-related effort that we had was a charrette, or a one-day brainstorming session with members of the design community in Philadelphia from various academic institutions as well as professional organizations to develop alternatives for our proposed, for us, for the proposed arena site. And hopefully that will be forthcoming very soon. All this time we've been going to city council and visiting and holding up our signs, but also we've been doing these one pagers. So these are informational, I guess flyers you could say, that critique a lot of the misinformation that's coming out and basically are part of the counter narrative, trying to change the discourse around the arena project, which most of the mainstream media has been favoring. So we also had a teach-in where we featured these one-pagers and the arena posters. There's Debbie there. And we couldn't help but basically have it post a jab against our council person. Yeah, who has reneged on his commitment to support whatever Chinatown felt about the arena. And Chinatown, over 93% of Chinatown has said they are against the arena. It would not support a community benefits agreement. So just this last Saturday, okay, we had another march in the rain where we pulled out 4,000 people and marched from City Hall to Chinatown. So again, listeners will hear perhaps is that waves of people are wearing this T-shirt. Okay, and so I wanted to share with you this video that unfortunately Debbie couldn't show yesterday, but I'm hoping that you'll get a kick out of it. This shows kind of our multimodal way of doing arts and culture, and we thank the Philly CAM people, the Community Media Center locally for helping us with this.
Thank you all so much. Could I just ask you to tell us more about your funding sources and resources?
Is this working? Okay. I think we are a combination of government contracts, mostly local, trying to break into the state funding sources, but mostly local funding and some grants and donations. This was our first year doing a corporate sponsorship program for our festival because we don't do an annual gala. I mean, we're very new, so we're kind of, those are our basic sources.
All of what Joanne said, plus we charge for walking tour. We have earned revenue from event space rentals and yes, government donations, memberships.
It's really part of our work and our mission to get our fair share from the government. So we definitely go for city, state funding. We've also been lucky enough to get, or I shouldn't say lucky, we've worked hard and earned a Mellon Grant Foundation. So we have a nice 1 million for that for our new kitchen space, which we also hope to get some revenue from our outward facing kitchen classes, whereas our inward facing kitchen classes will be low cost.
As for the Asian Arts Initiative, we've been lucky to own our own building, so it's income producing. But in addition to that, we've been fortunate to get a lot of multi-year grants from large funders, and I can't remember the names of them, but like Mellon and like Pew and so forth. And as for the Save Chinatown Coalition, which has over 150 organizations, I mean, we depend on donations from them as well as some fundraising that we do, say, So You Live in China, which isn't a whole lot. But we also are mainly, volunteer-led and run, so that there are very few staff. There's some staff who donate time, say AAI or AAU or API, PA vote, but actually we're very much, volunteer.
I just want to add that because of the diversity of our program, we can get both small business grants and also arts grants. So if you can think about that too in your work.
I'm sorry, we're probably at time, but I love this presentation. You could just see the creativity and fun that using the arts, using culture, using our stories can really, help preserve our neighborhoods and the people in it. So give it up to your speakers and come up and ask more questions.